was a ripper weekend of finals footy to flavour the 360 agenda. A sobering day for Richmond after the blitzkrieg at the Fortress. What does it all mean for the Tigers and how far can the power go? What's next for Mark Thompson? The job he was attempting fell agonisingly short, leaving questions of coach and team alike. And we'll ask Paul Roos for the latest on a swag of topics from Mitch Clark to Heretier Lumumba and James Frawley. I'm Gerard Whateley, here's Mark Robinson. This Monday night, it's footy from all angles. Hello, Robbo.
Hello, Gerard. I suspect Rouge is going to be the main draw card tonight.
Yes. He's probably had nights where he's spectated at Bomber, but it might be his turn.
It might be. How was your weekend?
That was great. How was yours?
Well, mine was better than
Crowd
yours.
level on
What did you
Sunday.
get up to? Say mine was better. I'm assuming mine was better.
My two finals were terrific, but being at ground level for what happened yesterday, I'm sure was great.
Yeah, it was. I was lucky enough to be on the ground at the Port Adelaide-Richmond game. It's hard to describe. It was, if you love footy, the build-ups, anyone would love it. The build-up's just unbelievable. The singing of the song, I nearly sang. I filmed it instead.
Yeah.
It was just great. It really was just spine-tingling. And once the game started, Gerard, like 15 minutes into the first quarter, I said to myself, Damien Hardwick's helpless. He can't do anything here. I was looking at the players as they were coming off the ground. They're like the Tasmanian devil, you know that cartoon? They're coming off, they were wrestling around. They were obliterated.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, these guys have got about a minute and a half to rest and then they're back out there and you're looking out there and they're kicking goal after goal after goal and I'm thinking, they're dead, they're gone, they can't arrest this, and they didn't.
It was a compelling half hour from the moment Port Adelaide ran out onto the field to the 13 minutes through to the 17-minute mark of the first quarter.
It was.
It was just an amazing half hour for the spectacle that was the Adelaide Oval and then for what Port Adelaide did. So
truly amazing.
We'll delve right into that there, but I imagine your hero comes from that game.
Oh, no doubt. And my hero is Travis Boak. And I didn't know this last night. And I'm so rapt that Ken Hinkley has compared and put in the same sentence Travis Boak and Joel Selwood.
Yep.
They are both inspiring leaders. They both set the example in intent. They put their bodies and heads in places that not many players do. They can just play the game. You know, just what a great leader. I'm glad Ken Hinkley did that. Finished with 34. He had 19. I think he had 19 at the half when the game was decided. 12 clearances. He was just phenomenal, phenomenal. And that story, you know, the image of the Scott and Bartel and Selwood going over there and going to get him. I thought he was a goner then.
Yep.
And we've spoken about this, but being at Port Adelaide yesterday and watching Travis Boak doing what I did, I was so proud of him without really knowing him. I was so proud that he said, no, I'm going to stay here and lift this football club.
Yep.
Oh, he was just magical. Magical. What about you?
Look, I found this a really tough choice because you could have gone with Brian Lake. I sort of have this feeling I should have gone with Drew Petrie, but the man I was most looking forward to was Buddy Franklin. And for all that happened on Saturday afternoon, this game lives in the 2 minutes that it took Franklin to kick these 2 goals. That's it. Game was in the balance. Sydney's under challenge. They double-teamed him all day up forward. Coach switches him up to the wing, and each time that Franklin got it, we were sitting here, he'll kick this. And regardless of how preposterous it is that he kicks one from 70 out there and one from the third row over there, you just sort of know with him that he will. And he is the commanding figure of this final series, and we'll see how that all plays out over 4 weeks. But what a down payment on it all to do that in the qualifying final. And will he up that in the preliminary, and will he up that further in the grand final?
You know, they used to call Wayne Carey the king, but he is the modern-day king. And the king, Carey doesn't own the word king. The king just sits very comfortably with Lance Franklin.
Yep.
And that was just unbelievable.
Amazing.
It was like,
and that's
go on,
what
have a look at that.
September's for, isn't it?
Every year it's like it.
So delivered against that, it was great.
Not everything works out well, though, for all teams.
It doesn't.
We saw one yesterday.
We'll walk through them one at a time, shall we?
Bloody
Top
hell.
of the agenda is the fallout from the Adelaide Oval yesterday, where it turned the theatre of nightmares for 7,000 travelling fans and a Tiger lineup who came with such high hopes.
Well, it's a nightmare. Now it's a nightmare for Richmond. Port just killed them today. They really did. disappointed. It's like any side that you come so far, you give us, you're a 1 in 8 chance of getting where you need to be, and it's a long time before you get there back again. So our boys are bitterly disappointed with our performance in a big game. Played nowhere near our potential, so they're always going to be disappointed.
It pretty much comes down to the performance you put out on game day, and we weren't good enough. Port Adelaide were fantastic, hence they deserve to go through to the next final, and that'll live with us over the summer, and hopefully now that we've been in the position twice now, the boys are really starting to understand that opportunities don't come around a lot. We had to work really hard to get that opportunity this year, but we need to make sure that has that little bit of burning desire sitting in your gut throughout the pre-season going into next season.
Once our regular season finishes and the final start, it's a new season, and we've failed. So we've got to get better. We know we do. We'll work incredibly hard on the summer, but so will other sides. So we've got to make sure we work on some things to get our game up and going again.
So it's a chasm. Port Adelaide's belonged in the top 4 and Richmond spent most of the year in the bottom portion. And then when they met, it's a chasm. Yeah, so what does it mean?
First of all, before we go on, what does it mean? It means that they're not ready. I didn't like seeing Trent Cotchin in that uniform, in that costume.
So it's dress-up day for Mad Monday.
That's fine. That's fine. Wear a bloody T-shirt and change afterwards, because you got belted yesterday by whatever you got belted by, and you know that the club, you have to talk. And you're standing there in a KISS uniform asking us to really invest in what you're saying. I can't get over the uniform. It's got nothing to do with anything. It's just me probably being an idiot. But
let's get to the football.
It just doesn't sit comfortably with me. That I just couldn't.
Where does it leave Richmond?
Yesterday's bloody activities.
Where does it leave Richmond in an on-field sense? Learning, realising this game's tough. Realising that teams like Hawthorn and Geelong and Sydney, it takes years to combat the pressure, soak it in. Don't fall down around it, soak it up and then change it and change the outcome of games. They didn't change it. They won 9 in a row. Right now, Jared, you may think I'm harsh, it means nothing to me. This competition is about making finals, winning premierships. They're miles off the premiership from what we saw yesterday. So what do they have to do you think, to legitimately move into next season with the possibility of winning finals? Well, and this gets to how much change do they need to make, or do they have it there and they need to grow it?
Well, they've gone pretty solid in the last couple of years on older players, okay? Getting older players. No, I don't do that again. Do it one. Go and pick one you think you need, okay? But what they've realised is they're a long way off. So continue to invest in the youth. So you get 40 games into this year's draft picks. You might get 40 games in them, 35 games in them. So when you're really challenging for a flag in 3 years' time, they will have 45, 50 games in them, and Conquer will be about 120, and go through them. Miles will be 80. Just get games into them, because that's what it counts. That's what it is, mate. The pressure yesterday that Port applied to Richmond, I know they would have probably given trouble to every team in the competition. But at some stage, those stronger teams would have stood up and said, no, we are gonna mount a fight back. But Richmond didn't stand up. Oh, I don't really care about the last quarter. I didn't see a kick of the last quarter. I was riding. No. Don't care.
No, the last quarter doesn't count.
No, it doesn't count.
We learned everything we needed to learn in the first half.
But I'm not being critical of Richmond. It's a hard competition. We sit here every bloody night, Jared, talking about how hard this game is to play. I don't want to go on about this. I really don't. But I am. Call it a cauldron, a coliseum, the home ground advantage. I realised yesterday when I was standing on the bench yesterday, and we're talking about home ground advantages, Jared, and I said, we haven't got anything like that in Melbourne. We have got 9 teams playing at the MCG and Docklands. 9. And they are stayed stadiums. I don't know if anyone favours anything. Geelong have got a fortress. Over there, mate. Yeah. That's like a lion's cage at the zoo, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh.
Hey, when you were down at ground level, could you sense what the wind was doing? Is this a real issue, or is this a furphy?
Certainly don't regret it. It was more about the way we played in the first quarter, not so much the wind. It was very swirly out on the ground. I know that people are saying that the flags were blowing a certain way outside of the stadium, but the reality is it was swirly. I didn't feel there was a real advantage. I spoke to a few of our forwards. We discuss it as we do every game, and that was the decision we came to. So we won the toss. We decided to go that way, and who knows.
I reckon you'd look good in something like that at mixed 40. Well, did you go like that at mixed 40?
No, I did not.
Keys in.
Real or furphy, that one?
I thought it was swirly. I tell you what, I didn't make as much of it as other media people and people watching the game. Now, Richmond supporters, mates of mine today, and said, kick the crap out of Cochin, the worst decision in the history of game. I'm with Hardwick on this. The wind didn't decide whether you're putting your head over the ball and winning the ball. It really didn't. They kicked 8 and 6. So what's the excuse? It's not wind. It didn't change ends both quarters. It was swirly. There's no doubt about that. But I'll bow to the captains who say you should kick with the wind. I'll bow to them.
Okay. Port Adelaide side of things? No, you were down on the ground. So it would be madness to kick into a stiff wind, but I'm not saying it was a stiff wind.
Tell what I did learn on the weekend. Coaches are largely helpless in the box. In the box when that's happening.
Yeah.
Lee Matthews says it a lot. He goes, mate, we all think we run the world, but we sit there hoping like you players can do it. That's another thing Richmond need. They need leaders, but leaders is going to come with growth. Don't go and pick leaders. They've got to grow within.
Okay.
You know?
The Port side of things, it was the brutality of it early. It was amazing. This was the team that stormed the first half of this season, but it was beyond that. It was beyond anything that we'd seen from Port Adelaide before, and it poses the question today, how far into this final series could they go?
Still Gray, handball's good. Westhoff could kick a goal from here. He does. What a start.
Then sidesteps 2, sidesteps 3. Westhoff now going to have a shot on goal. Can he kick a goal? The perfect goal again. Wow.
Kicks inside the 50, winds the target. He wants to give off the hand pass to Boak. He does. And Travis Boak finishes.
He's a big-time captain. That's what I'd say. He's a big-time captain.
It's close. I think it's good. It's an avalanche.
Boys were just up and about right from the very start. Controlled the game early and were able to play some pretty damaging football. And
Smothered off the play on the ball. Seven goal. Wide. He's wide hot. He's kicked the goal. Port have 4. And we've gone 9.5 minutes. Port Adelaide having a party.
Oh my goodness!
Pollock can turn around, go in and kick another one. Bang! Remarkable scenes at the Adelaide Oval.
I think it all come from our intensity.
Lines up, making goal square. How about this? This is breathtaking.
Dear! Can you believe this? Dear!
Nice.
7-1 to no score, and Needers kicked a 55-metre goal, waltzing through the middle, taking 3 bounces. Do you mind?
Yeah, it was brutal. I can't make up another story about it. It was an awesome display by a group of young men who were determined to stick together and play tough footy.
So the phenomenon that takes hold at this time every year is we fall in love with the winners. We always do.
How could you not?
How could you not?
How could you not, mate? I know you're a solid fan of Port Adelaide, and at the beginning of the year they were playing some breathtaking football. But not like this, mate. Not like this. Now, the simple fact is, if they're allowed to play like this in the next 2 games, this weekend, they will win. Okay, and if they bring the same intensity, they will win. So there's the bar. It's probably over the bar actually on the weekend. But if they can bring round about that, they're going to be tough to beat. Now the question is, can they do it? Can they do it against the men of Fremantle?
Yes.
Not the growing men of Richmond, the men of Fremantle who have been playing fistbowl pressure for 3 years, because they're not going to wilt like Richmond wilted on the weekend. They're just not going to. And the game 2 weeks ago when they played in round 23, that was a cracker. I don't know if you watched the game. It was a cracker. I reckon Port Adelaide are in better nick. We'll get to Fremantle in a second, who may not be in that good a nick. How bullish are you about them?
I'm bullish tonight. I went back through my notes. I remember in 2012, I was sure that one of the elimination finalists would cause a straight sets exit. Certain of it. And I remember thinking, they both got beaten because they always do.
Yeah, I know.
And I wrote down, don't fall for it again. So I'm just tempering things for the time being. But it's only Monday.
Yeah, two things. You carry around with your notes from 2012.
You've got to learn your lessons in life, Robbo.
You're anal, aren't you? You're anal.
Matt White has a crack in his jaw, but he's not going to have surgery, and thus he hasn't given up the hope.
Look how we got it. Look how we got it.
Yep.
Look at that. He ran past one to get to another. That's awesome. That is awesome.
It will be. It's a fascinating medical decision for them to make later in the week. Remarkably, the team they play, Hayden Ballantyne for the Dockers, has the same affliction. He's had the surgery. Now, he's played once before off the broken jaw and did it well. So neither player has been ruled out, and both players are pretty central to it.
Yeah,
Ballantyne especially.
Ballantyne's is a braver small football player in the game. Yep. He really is. And if the doctor says to him it's your decision, he'll play. Now, I don't know about Matty White. I'm not a doctor. I don't know if it's worse. If he gets another knock, he might not be able to smile for the rest of his life. I don't know. But if they do play in the intensity, both of them next week, that's pretty brave decisions, isn't it?
Yep. Fremantle didn't lose anything in defeat other than it diminishes their premiership chances, as they pretty well brought what you imagined they would bring against Sydney, and they just weren't quite good enough. They didn't quite have the polish.
Yeah, they didn't.
And they didn't quite have the corresponding class. And it always felt like they were at arm's length, trying their darndest, but at arm's length.
Yeah, there was just a couple of things went really right for Sydney, and one of them was Cunningham on Hill. Okay, I mean, Lyon said he thought Ballantyne and Walters were dangerous. They look dangerous, but they've got to be dangerous. You can look dangerous, but be dangerous. Cunningham shut out Hill. Now at half time, Ross Lyon said after the game, our mids just didn't turn up. They lost us a game basically. That's what he said at half time. Stephen Hill, for Fremantle to win, Stephen Hill must run and carry and use the ball. And Cunningham kept him to 12 possessions. Crowley couldn't shut down Hanbury. So there's two negatives for Fremantle, and Daniel Pearce was subbed off, and the way he was playing, probably Ross Lyon couldn't get him off quick enough. So there's three negatives in the Fremantle midfield.
Yep.
You just can't carry that. So if he can fix them, they can improve. They can improve, but they just went against them on the weekend.
Okay, North Melbourne was one of the teams that had been fitted up as perhaps facing the toughest of referendums on Saturday night. It was declared that it was their time, and at half-time she looked a little bit on the grim side. I'm pretty sure there were lynch mobs forming in various places, and then the Kangaroos showed their true worth.
Is that the best win of your coaching career?
Yes.
Kangaroos, it's time. That's what I'd put on the banner. That's it, it's time. Let's cut the talk out. They've been talking for a long time, the Kangaroos.
What a great comeback. They're a second half team. The stat was pointed out how good they've been in second halves, and maybe they have that belief.
The highlight's probably the steely resolve of the players at half time when we were clearly under the pump and not playing well, and the opposition were playing well. So that's the highlight, to know that there's character within the group to come back.
Petrie around the corner, snap goal! He's got it! They're back in front by 5, North!
They grew up tonight, North Melbourne. They grew up in the second half and really showed great emotion.
Petrie gets a look, inside out, right for Banana! Boy, the last celebration was good! North up by 11 points!
I'm just elated for our players, our supporters, our club. Nerves are fine. I mean, you move on pretty quickly. The best part's gone, unfortunately. Really proud of the players, and everyone associated with our club should be tonight.
North Melbourne are through! The Bombers are out!
there's no better feeling than winning a final. We did it the hard way, but we'll take them any way they come.
That's a standout just because of the stakes, you know, what's obviously on the line and the way the boys did it.
It's a good result for the club and our supporters and also the players. I mean, I don't think we've won a final since 2007, so I think it's 7 years since then, and everyone's pretty pumped, so it's a good result.
It's a great opportunity for us, and we'll leave nothing in the tank.
So what did it do for your view of North Melbourne?
Oh, I saw them play that second half. I said, why didn't you play like that all the time? Now, I've got a leaning towards Essendon, but it was just it was a spectacular game to watch. And God, when they moved at North Melbourne, did they move it well? I mean, it's great to watch Wells, and I know we've both got a soft spot for Drew Petrie. You know, I got into him early, and he just takes some marks, Drew. The beauty of what Drew did, he picked it up from his ankles and spun and kicked a goal. It was just, I've used the word magical 3 times tonight, I'm going to use it 4th time. It was magical for Drew to do that. And Brown emerged, and Sam Wright played his most important game for the club. And North have got a folk hero as well now. You know, everything's coming together. You know, Lindsay Thomas threw his head back. I haven't got a big issue with that. He got taken around the head. But it was just, they were under the pump and they picked themselves up. And that's all you can want from your team. And when you're watching it and it's over, you actually go, yeah, that's great. That was a great team effort.
Yep.
And that extends to the coach. What did Brad Scott say at half-time? We'll find out, hopefully, one day, what turned it around.
He certainly changed the way they played from the second quarter to the third quarter, and that's been one of the questions that sat over Brad and posed around him is, can you change within a game? Well, he got the change that he needed out of his team, who had regressed too far into the slow ball movement. It was amazing, the kicking backwards, which is not them. So it was a good coaching effort to change that.
What about the call? Was it exciting to call?
Oh, yeah. And Drew Petrie, who'd spent the whole night staring down his football mortality.
I thought you were going to say he spent the whole night staring up at you in the box.
Staring down his football mortality. And when Ryder took that one-handed mark against him, just waltzed around him and kicked the goal, and he dropped mark after mark. And then to kick those 2 goals.
Righto, Drew. He's at home watching this. Keep his confidence up.
You say it's coming together. Well, they get Boomer Harvey back. He gets to play in a final come Friday night.
My body feels good. I've had 3 weeks off, done a little bit of extra running, but that's about it. So I'm fresh. Hopefully I can contribute. My role will be, to come into the team and just play my role. There's nothing special about it, and if I can do that and do it well, and I've got 21 teammates that do that well as well, we think we're a big chance.
So the Geelong side of things, they've got questions and decisions to make during the week, given the Steve Johnson risk situation. Didn't pay any dividends on the weekend. Will they do that again? Alan Christensen, who we know missed the team, and on Thursday night we wondered, there were no guarantees as to whether he would play in the next game, only the hope. He spoke today.
Yeah, good. I'll have a little run around today and hopefully all goes well. It was a minor thing, but don't want to take any risks with place I've had surgery on. So,
are you feeling any pain in it still at the moment? Or?
No, I'm all good. So we'll see how we go this week. That was all it was. It was an area I've had surgery on before, and we don't want to take any risks with it. So yeah, all good. Thanks, mate.
Can't wait for this go.
Yeah.
Cannot wait. I'm worried about the Cats.
Yep.
I am. Only because all the coaches keep telling us everything to go right, and things just aren't right at the moment. Thankfully, we'll get to the MAP later. Tommy got off. Tommy Hawkins, that is.
So jumper punches at the start of the year did cause suspensions, and jumper punches at this time of year don't.
Well, look at it shape. He's got to have a rock as a head, Ben Stratton. Look at that. And he didn't fall over. He just stood up. Good on you. Probably saved him, because if he went down and grabbed his face, Hawkins would probably be suspended.
I suspect you're right. So Chris Scott talks tomorrow, so a bit more of a focus on the Cats then. And the last one for the agenda was Nick Malcheski's hamstring injury. He was subbed out. What would it mean? Would it be the 21 days and thus put him on the brink of the grand final? It's a better result than that out of Sydney.
Yeah, he's good. His hamstring's fine, so he's got a bit of minor swelling there, but nothing major at all. So he feels really good, and at this stage he's looking to run next Monday, train next Wednesday, and be available to play next week.
There's only one person really happy about that, and that's Nick Malcheski. That's all.
You want the best players out there. I mean, he's going to be, he'll surely be an All-Australian halfback. He's performed in grand finals before, so you know it looked in the Kennedy vein rather than the pang of the hamstring. So fingers crossed for him. It sounds like that has come back good. All right, let's leave the agenda there and bring in the coaches, because this is where the real news will be tonight. Paul Roos and Mark Thompson on events at their clubs and futures, which are a little bit uncertain.
Do you feel like you've injected a bit of levity into post-game press conferences?
Yeah, hope so. That's my plan, Roro. Get you.
It's been entertaining.
And Roger just turns up. He rings me and texts me, I've got one more question. I said, no, Roger, you've had your chance. I won't be seeing you coach next year, Roro. No, I told him exactly to do that, Roro. No, they failed the instructions.
I'm going to drop this Roro stuff.
Well, it's sad to finish. I was bitterly upset. It's not the way I wanted to finish. I wanted to win some finals. Why not be ambitious? I've never even given it much thought.
Could you give a time frame on that decision?
Yeah, I'll give you 2 months.
Is that serious?
What a year.
Mark, given...
I was going to have a big exit like that guy who that show, you know, any given... that show, that Al Pacino, that, any given...
I think it's Scarface.
No. Any given Sunday. I'm taking... I didn't bring it. See you later.
Either we heal now as a team, or we will die as individuals. That's football, guys. That's all it is.
The final chapter of the Bomber Diaries. Mark Thompson, welcome.
That was well put together, wasn't it? Huh?
It's nice. We had good
It was
material
good.
to work with. Paul Roos, hi, Roosy.
How are you? Hello, Roosy.
Maybe the first one for you, Roosy. Yeah, of what you saw out of the weekend, what was the most important thing from the September's perspective?
Well, the Sydney Freo game was a pretty brutal game, wasn't it? I mean, that was a real hard grand final type footy. And that was probably the thing. Not that it was a much better game, but I just felt that was probably the most physical game. I don't know whether you watched all of them, but that was by far the most... I mean, Geelong Hawthorn broke open sort of late, but there was just no space and time. And
does that take its toll on Freo, does it? Or not?
Well, both. One gets a week off, so I think it's... Yeah, but that was a really hard, tough, physical game and didn't really break. I mean, I know there was...
Last year they won it, didn't they? That same game down at Geelong.
Yeah, down at Geelong, that's right.
They had the break.
Yeah.
Then they go to the grand final.
So you need to be tough and hard rather than covering the ground and running. I know that's your philosophy. Am I wrong in saying that?
Oh, I think both. I think both teams, and probably Sydney wins it in the end because of their running. I think, they do cover the ground really well.
The team that survives the war, the grind.
Yeah, the war, the grind, and then comes out the other side.
And
then a bit of the talent comes through. I reckon the bottom 5 or 6 probably for Sydney were better than the bottom 5. And I honestly believe your bottom 5 or 6 determines finals, and particularly grand finals, because the top players, I reckon, tend to cancel each other out. You'll have 5 good players on one team and a couple have had a bad game, but 3 will have a really good, and it'll be the same on the other side. I just think it's the bottom 5 or 6 that
Their side would be a lot harder to pick than Freo's, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Sydney?
I think so. Yeah.
I disagree. I think there's Buddy. I don't know who the opposite on the other team from Buddy is.
Well, it's Fife. I mean, Fife has a great... Yeah. I just think I'm not saying the Stars don't perform. What I'm saying is if you factor in, I tend to disagree. Buddy's the obvious tick on the night, but the game's won by Rampy and Smith and guys like that. Cunningham on Hill. They're the guys that win the game for you.
Talking about it before, I thought Cunningham's role was almost match winning.
That's what I'm saying. So the Franklin 2 goals you see and everyone lauds it, but I guarantee internally that John Longmire and his coaching staff would be so pleased with the performance of Cunningham, and they're the guys that determine the outcomes.
They don't play well, those blokes, and they don't join in defence, for example, because their head's in a spin. There's a hole in
That's
your,
right, exactly.
There's a massive hole.
I know you asked for 2 months, but we've given you 2 days. Do you feel like you've coached your last senior game?
Yeah, possibly, yeah, probably.
Did you sort of go on Saturday night knowing that was a possibility in your mind?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's why I was pretty disappointed, because I didn't want to finish.
Do you expect to be approached by other clubs other than outside of Essendon?
I'm not sure, mate.
Would you entertain that, Bomber, as your head in a spot where you'd say, you know what, I really enjoyed this year?
I don't think so, mate.
Righto. Yeah. Next question then. When do you suspect that you'll be sitting down with Essendon and discussing a possible
this week
role?
sometime, probably towards... We've got exit meetings the next 2 or 3 days, so...
So you get it done earlier. If you're staying, let's announce it and let's all move on and start planning. And if you're going, let's announce that and I'm out of there. Is that how
works
you
better
want
that way, doesn't it? Otherwise it becomes...
Just drags on.
Yeah, it just drags on.
Did you notice, Bomber, this year a big change in your own mindset, given you knew it was only 12 months compared to when you were at Geelong?
Mindset as in...
Just the things you were able to do, perhaps. You've only got 12 months, nothing to lose. Yeah, I mean, we saw, I don't want to say the levity of the press conference, but I suspect there's an end point, and well, I'm dealing with this for 12 months. Is there things you might have done this year that you wouldn't have done at Geelong because you knew you were there for the longer time?
I think probably I tried to do too much, Ruzi, because there was a short amount of time, and it sort of frustrated me a little bit early doors, because it's just what I expected to happen, what I wanted to happen, we couldn't get done because people sort of didn't know what you're talking about, or we didn't have the people around. But there, when I stopped worrying about that, it was okay.
Yeah.
You got a person involved at Essendon who's been linked to Melbourne. His name's Simon Goodwin. Have you spoken to Simon Goodwin?
I've had a brief discussion with him. I mean, we're allowed to sort of informally talk to people. I think there's
I'm not trying to catch you out.
No,
you're looking at a possible new
not a formal presentation, because we're mindful of... so what we've done I think we've been pretty open the last 10 weeks, is just having a brief chat to guys. No presentations, doing some research behind the scenes and all those sorts of things. And the search will probably ramp up, given that some of the teams are getting knocked out along the way.
It's okay. I think we knew about it, so it's
a
progression to become a senior coach. So
why would you
wouldn't want to
stop
get
in his way?
Yeah.
Have you made peace with the defeat on Saturday night yet? Is it all right, or is it still churning at you?
No, it's still churning a bit. Yeah. Well, we're 16. They kicked 16 points at half time. So then they kicked 12 goals. In a game that was very, very important. They could have, if they had have stuck to their task, and they could have won. And you never know what can happen.
What did you do wrong in the third quarter, Bomber, as coach? Anything? If you had your time again, would you?
No, we're trying to send some messages out, but it's
hard.
We couldn't change the game. No.
I said to Jared at the top of the show, I sat on the bench yesterday, right next to Richmond, and I realised 5 minutes into the game, and Damien Hardwick might disagree with me, he was helpless. He was helpless in the box. Because I was looking at these guys rotating, and there was noise and just flurry of movement and ball movement and turnovers and loose men, and they're coming off and they're looking at each other, and I'm thinking, how does a coach... I said to Daniel Harford today, you know what you want to do? We want a time out. Stop the game. I want to go down and talk to him. You got 30 minutes to sit there and got one runner.
Yeah, and I think that's
to get out there and try and change it.
I think Clarko put on the agenda early in the season about the one runner, Robbo, that it does definitely favour the experienced team.
Oh, no,
you would have seen it firsthand the other night, and the number of times, Bomber, I reckon, you go to send a message out in the course of the game trying to change, let's drop one back, I want you to pull one off the stoppage now to get in a run on, and it's not there. And I think that's a real advantage for senior, experienced, organised...
Definitely. Geelong, Sydney. They've got 10 assistant coaches on the ground. The runner on the weekend, right, was how about in our game, right? You got a piece of paper like this, and they're going bang, 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 and he's looking at it, and then he goes.
Yeah, exactly.
So I look at him, and then I watch the game.
And then while they're in the ground, we're screaming for him to come back and deliver the next one. He's only halfway through that one.
It was truly amazing. It must have felt like that on Thursday night.
Saturday
night. Have you got any... I know you asked about this. Has there been any movement whatsoever with Patrick Ryder?
No, I don't think that anything's changed.
Will you involve yourself with that? You said it's hurt his problem. But if you're going to invest again in that club, it's your problem as well.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, it was an easy thing to say. It's a big issue because he is much loved, so we'd hate to see him leave.
What were you thinking when he took this one-hander?
It's a big play on.
Have a look at the goal, mate.
No, I know.
He does things like that pretty simply, doesn't he? He's a good player. He's probably had his best year, which is something, we're pretty proud of, but the fact that he's thinking about leaving is not good.
What did you think of North Melbourne? What did you think the way they played in the third and fourth quarters?
Yeah, they were good. They were good.
In what way were they good?
To be down so far, 33 points, I think, at one stage, to rebound like that in a final tells you that they've had the experience, haven't they? Like, was it last year? No, they missed last year. They
missed last year.
They got smashed over in Perth. It just tells you that they probably got their thoughts well and truly in line. Their game plan's pretty solid.
Their belief must be strong, isn't it? For Brad Scott to come out and say, right, go, I would imagine, go play this way, and they invested in it,
and they did it,
and they played on, Bomber. Did you, Rizzy? They just played on.
Yeah, I think
at every time.
They've got a distinct style. They're a very offensive team, and that's the way they play their best football.
Yep.
You can't afford to turn the ball over. You can't afford to let the ball spill out to them.
Can it survive deep though? That style. We were just talking about the Fremantle Swans game. Can that style get past Geelong this weekend? Maybe get past a preliminary final.
Well, I mean, we're going to see, aren't we? It'll be different to what I think has been set up in the past, but I mean, things change in football.
They play more like your team when you're at Geelong than your team when you're coaching Sydney, don't they?
Well, I mean, to be fair to Bombers teams were really good defensive teams.
Yeah,
I mean, they were outstanding. And I'm not saying
North's
defence is more based on their attack, because if they get ball in hand,
it's hard to get it off them.
It's hard to get it off them, So it's just, I mean, it's working very well, and it'll be a terrific game this week against the Cats.
Their age and all that, their balance of their list is pretty good. Their balance of their team on the ground. A lot of players.
I think they're really even team.
Years,
they are a very even team. They don't have a lot of poor players, and as you would expect, I guess, when you get this deep in the finals. But I think they are pretty even.
So the last two were two tactical questions. Did it take too long to make a move on Ben Brown?
No, I don't think so. No, because the problem is that if it wasn't him, it would have been someone else. Ultimately, they'd kick 16 points and he wasn't a problem in the first half because of the pressure. So it's not the problem of who was playing on Brown, it was a problem of why was the ball getting down there so quickly. Yeah.
And did Dempsey work as the sub?
Nah, clearly not. No, because he come on at a bad time of the game, but no, we liked that young kid, Gleeson, and we thought that he was worthy of getting a game ahead of Courtney this week.
Okay. Roosie, you met with Mitch Clark this afternoon, it's been reported. What was the tenor of that conversation?
Oh, look, firstly, as I said to Mitch, we're always been concerned about his well-being, and that's the whole season for us, and obviously the retirement and so forth was really based on Mitch's health. And the first thing I said to him today was about that, how you feeling, how you going, all those sorts of things. So I think we're just sort of being consistent with that theme, just making sure Mitch is well looked after, feeling healthier. So there wasn't really a lot of talk about football.
Do you want him to play at Melbourne next year?
Well, I sort of broached that subject with him, and we'll have some more dialogue with him in terms of where. But it was really more the footy content we talked about today, and understanding if you do come back, these are the things you got to face. And I sort of just made the point, it's one thing sort of sitting out and seeing how exciting it is, and I just want to make sure Mitch is in a really good, fit, healthy state for him to come back, because he's only 26, so he's
what's
clearly...
happened, Roosie? He had a contract, did he, for next year as well?
Yeah, he did, and then his manager orchestrated a payout along with Josh Marnie, and
so has he got a contract still?
He's on the list.
He's on the list, so he's a listed player.
Yeah, so he'd have to sign a new contract.
Yeah, he'd have to sign a new contract with us, or get traded, or go in the pre-season draft. Yeah.
I've written a piece tomorrow saying that I reckon Mitch Clark owes Melbourne. Do you think there's any grounds in that?
Oh, look, I've only been at Melbourne a very short space of time, but I couldn't have been more proud of the way the club handled the whole situation. And media and everyone. I think everyone in the footy world handled it really respectfully. I think the work that Josh Marnie, Todd Viney, Andrew Nichols, player welfare, our medicos. I just think the way they handled the whole thing was fantastic.
So is the answer yes, or is it difficult?
Well, I don't know how to answer the question because I'm not sure directly what you. I mean, we'll continue to do the best thing we possibly can for Mitch.
I'll tell you what, they signed Mitch Clark for 4 years. They signed him at $700,000 a year. He plays 15 games over the journey because of serious illness and serious injury. He retires, gets a payout, now comes out and says, I want to play football again, but I don't want to...
Yeah, but he might have been in a spot where no one really wants people to be. Yeah, and now he's feeling a lot better. So does he owe anything? Well, I think that got stopped as soon as he negotiated a contract. He wouldn't have been paid out in full. He's obviously accepted terms.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. But I've just posed a question. Yeah. At the time, mate, he was given number 11. Jim Steins' number. The investment. The Melbourne Football Club finally signed a high-end talent. They were ballsy. They went and got him from Fremantle. Yeah. And he was in it. Yeah. Now he's out of it. Look, what I would now say, he wants to come back.
Potentially lost your best player. I mean, I
he was your best
along
player.
With Nathan Jones and Mitch.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
yes,
he's potentially. So what's compensation for that? Which we're not going to get if he does decide to leave and you trade with another club. So, I don't know how to answer your question directly, but certainly. He's equal best player with Nathan Jones going into season, this particular season.
So if he does choose to go elsewhere, you'll want something decent from that other club?
Oh, look, we would want some compensation, clearly, like any player that you trade that's out of contract on October 31.
Would you try and talk him into playing at Melbourne?
As I said to him today, so my concern is first and foremost for his well-being. If he absolutely believes that not playing at Melbourne's the right thing to do, and we do our due diligence, and as we did when we orchestrated, or his manager orchestrated the retirement package and so forth, and it wasn't just walking in. There's a lot goes into that. So we'll do a lot of research over the next sort of week or so, but again, first and foremost, hopefully Mitch is in a good state and
he's gone. He's not playing for Melbourne.
Would you have liked him to come through you before it became public that he wanted to come back?
That thing probably got a bit messy now. Where it did, admittedly, Cole Young did ring me on Friday, but it became public before I think anyone would have liked it became public. I know Mitch and I have been trying to catch up over the last couple of weeks, so it probably did get a bit messy, but through no one's fault. It's one of those things I think has just got out before everyone would have liked it to got out. But I know Mitch's intention was always to come and catch up with me, and Cole. I spoke to Cole Young on Friday, but in an ideal world, it would have been good to come out tomorrow. after I'd spoken to Mitch, but certainly not Mitch's fault, not Cole's fault.
Are you all in for Heredier Lumumba?
In speaking to Purdy, who's a really good mate of mine, I was speaking to him Thursday, and we were talking about lists and so forth, and he chucked up Heretier's name, and would you like to speak to him? I said,
and you went ding, yep.
I said, yeah, and so Ben Nile then rang me, Gary rang Ben and said...
Ben's the manager of
Harry, so then we caught up on Friday, and it was really, again, just a more general chat about, I didn't actually know, but that night after I'd spoken to Purdy, the thing came out on the footy show or whatever. I mean, all I can say about that, and I'm not going to divulge a conversation, the whole conversation I had with...
Give us 3/4 of it.
Well, I guarantee if he leaves Collingwood, it's not for a cartoon. I mean, if anyone thinks that, some of the commentary about that is borderline ridiculous.
Stupidity.
Yeah, I mean, some of the things I've heard about that. So he's not going to be leaving Collingwood. If he leaves Collingwood, it won't be because of a cartoon.
His character's different, not bad, it's different. Is your club mature enough to take on a person with his... not alternative thinkings, he's deep-seated thinkings?
Yeah, part of really the discussion was, and we talked more about, I got a great insight into his background. I really enjoyed talking to him about his parents and where he's from and all those sort of things. Right? So, Robert, it was really less about footy. Benny Matthews came along, and look, I thoroughly enjoyed the hour and a half I had with him because I learned a lot more about him. Being in Sydney, it's interesting coming back down here. I was quite surprised at how polarised people he had. He's polarised people, and that really surprised me because because A, you don't hear a lot of it in Sydney, and B, I've never really seen him I've seen him as a really good opposition player, but I've never sort of seen him as a troublemaker or anything like that. So it was really just a really good chat to have with him.
And the last one, is the system hurting James Frawley? As technically he's not allowed to say anything until the free agency window opens, which is after the grand final. And that's just making life difficult.
Yeah, I think it's... We talked about that today, and I said, well, you know, it'd be nice to know. And then I think the recruiter said, well, he probably can't tell us. And I thought, that's a bit strange, isn't it?
It's weird, isn't it?
It is weird.
Yeah.
Look, I don't think... My opinion for free agent doesn't help anyone.
Yeah,
you know?
they can't tell you.
I'm pretty black and white on that.
They could tell you, couldn't they? Couldn't they just say...
I think we were talking about... They can't sign it. It was different, though. Didn't Phil Davis... I know he wasn't a free agent. Phil Davis, Nathan Bock. I think they both went to Adelaide.
Had to wait until...
Yeah, did Brendan wait? Yeah, we were talking about it.
Everyone, not everyone. That was announced at 9:01 on Monday.
We could talk like this all night. Yeah. Roosie, see you next Monday. Good luck with everything. And Bomber, the exit interviews. I presume your exit interview will happen as well, maybe.
Yeah, I might
Good
be
luck with it all.
I suspect you won't be having an exit interview, Bomber.
We'll see.
What's that mean?
Next on AFL 360, we'll go through the rest of the issues. And on the couch tonight, the North Melbourne chairman, James Brayshaw, is the guest.
Now look at yours today. It's been a while, the dust is long setting. You still look the same. That's what all the sacrifices are about. Enjoying this moment. Don't run away from it. Oh, yes! Wingard. Down towards a vacant square. Grundy. No, Pavlich first. And they play on. And Bogue goals. Port Adelaide have got the jump. Now Buddy Franklin. A long way from home. It might not bother Buddy. You've seen it a million times. You know how it finishes. But you can't take your eyes off it. One-handed from Ryder. He plays on. Wants to kick it around the body from 45. What about that? Paddy Ryder.
There's a blood rule.
Over the back it comes. Petrie around the corner. Snap goal. He's got it. Lewis to finish it. They're into the prelim. The Bombers are out.
As a group, three-quarter time we're in a position and we blew it. And Essendon were in a position at half-time today and they blew it. And it's as simple as that, and that's why it's so hard.
The best of the actions. Was that Brad Johnson?
Was too.
The rest of the issues on the 360-second clock. Hungry Jack's 360 seconds. Robbo, will Bomber get calls about other senior jobs?
No.
No one will call and ask?
No. I suspect they will. There's only me. I really don't know, but I suspect they'll be announcing a role for Bomber at Essendon by the end of this week. We got that out of him.
Yep.
Will Paddy Ryder leave Essendon?
Just a guess, yes. The way it's shaping at the moment.
How's it shaping?
Just on the events of the past 18 months.
Oh, right.
It's not going to get cleared up in the last couple of days. So, I don't know. But if I was having a guess, I'd say yes. Will Mitch Clark play next year?
Yes.
Doesn't seem much doubt about that.
If Gaz can't win the BNF, how does he win the Brownlow?
That's quite a good proposition.
It is.
Look, the voting will be different.
Always. Double Borg.
The umpires...
Should have done a third Borg.
If they overdose on Ablett early, he could still win it. I suspect he won't. And probably what we saw is that in any vote count, if you miss that much footy, they'll eventually get to you.
Yep.
So that's probably the lesson.
Selwood finished strongly.
Yeah. So he probably can't.
Yep.
What does the sixth best and fairest say about Nick Revolt's greatness?
Nothing. He was already great before the night started. He's no greater. Oh, I know he's greater because he's six. There's no doubt. He's one of my all-time favourite footballers, Nick Revolt.
He's been epic in these last 2 years.
Yeah. Oh, what about when he was at his absolute best, mate? If he was epic in the last 2 years when they were struggling...
In a completely lost cause.
But when
that's even better.
You reckon?
In a way.
That's admirable. It's admirable.
Yes, admirable.
You're either on a small wave and you're battling the tide. When you're on top of a tidal wave, which he was, and running out in prelims and second semis and qualifyings and grand finals... That was epic, I reckon.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a star. If there's a half a chance, should the prelim be at the SCG?
Yes, but that won't be happening. I know there are NRL matches in the mix here, but the AFL will get the Friday night at Stadium Australia, and that will probably be announced in the next couple of days.
It's rubbish.
What was Brad so angry about late? It looked like they were completely home.
I don't know.
No,
do you know?
That's how. Yeah, I asked him yesterday. That's how tense it is at the end. He wants a message out there to reach.
I would guess that someone's not standing in the right spot at a stoppage.
Get the message out there.
That's
how tense it is right to the end.
Has the AFL done the right thing offering cheaper tickets?
Yes. Good faith with the fans. Plus, this is the weekend that always has soft attendances. So, absolutely, offer discounts. Do it more often.
Yeah, I agree.
How do the players, or who do the players pick as their MVP tomorrow night? Who will they go for?
Give me a list. I think Selwood.
Okay.
If they don't judge him as badly as some fans do with his shrugging. I don't think Gazza gets it. I think Selwood gets it. Maybe Boak, maybe Fife.
We've got favourites galore tomorrow night. Jordan Lewis will be here.
Is Sully coming in?
Brad Sewell is going to join us from the MVP. So is Gary Ablett. So is Paddy Dangerfield.
I reckon Gary can win it.
Nah.
Is it really?
Tomorrow night, a huge lineup from the MVP.
Fantastic.
'90, Tony, a momentous year in your life, wasn't it? You're the captain of the Collingwood Football Club. You end the Collie Wobbles, you smash Essendon in the grand final, you win the Norm Smith medal, and you finish with the Copeland Trophy. What was your overriding emotion when the siren sounded and you've beaten the Bombers by 8 or 10 goals or whatever the margin was?
Well, you wouldn't believe it. I spoke to Kevin Bartlett the week before the grand final. Now, what's he played? 4 or 5? And
Five premierships.
5 premierships.
Yep.
And he said, I said, what's it feel like? He said, it's a relief. I go, come, give me something else, will you? Give me something. And he goes, when I went down on my old fours, everybody said, you must have had a tear in your eye. And it was a bloody relief.
Tony Shaw with Mike Sheehan on Open Mic tonight following On the Couch. One other thing to make you aware of, if you are a Telstra customer, there's a chance to get 50% off tickets to this weekend's finals. All you have to do is go to the telstra.com website /sport there, and to selected matches, 50% off tickets. Now, tomorrow night, along with Ablett, Dangerfield, Sewell, Lewis, Heppel, Daniel Jackson will talk to us. He's hosting the MVP.
Is he really?
And he's retired now.
Oh, I know that.
What transpired? We'll ask him that.
Selfless. When people criticised him, he was selfless.
We'll talk to him tomorrow
Don't
night.
come in. I'll talk to them all.
Let's head on the couch with Jared Healy.